Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of Falling for a Star in the City by Krysten Lindsay Hager, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me. Chapter 1. My grandmother always said adversity was the best way to breed strength of character. Lately, it seemed like my character was strong enough to bench press a Buick. Grandma was always trying to help me be a better person by calling or texting helpful links of a new disease I might need to protect myself from or the latest food recall. Sometimes grandma's guidance was right, like like don't eat pickles after 10 p.m. or you'll get nightmares. Recently, she'd been telling me I was wasting my time with my wannabe pop star boyfriend Walker. I loved him, but even I had to admit he was immature. He was always saying, "When I make it, it's going to be so worth it." Meanwhile, I was the one reminding him that they were about to turn off his cell again. My phone got a message, and I looked at it hoping it would be from my agent about an acting audition I went on weeks ago. Instead, Grandma flashed across the screen. My grandmother said to call her and included links to 5 articles. 3 of them were about saving money, one about a new killer virus that was attacking chickens, and one was on a recall on lettuce. Cheery stuff. I swear that woman missed her calling as a news anchor or a doomsday prophet. Hey, Grandma. Hi, Paige. Just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. Did you hear back on that thing your mom said you were waiting on? Was it for a real job? My role on Charmed Lives is a real job. She cleared her throat. That soap opera is nice, but I meant something steady that could lead toward a career. Acting is a career. It's also very uncertain. What if something happens and the show gets canceled? Then where are you? Unemployed. That's why I was so proud of you for switching your major from theater to journalism. I mean, I'd be prouder if it were pre-law or teaching, but it's a start. I closed my eyes and counted to 10 before responding. Nothing is going to happen to my job. I wouldn't be any safer. Grandma didn't know this, but they were getting ready to finally reveal my character, Daisy Rogers, was a secret sister of the show's heartthrob, Lance Cunningham. Frankly, I didn't think it was going to come off as a huge shock, seeing as I was the only actress on the show Lance hadn't dated, which really narrowed the playing field of who could be his secret sibling. But still, Lance was the star of the show, so my job security was rock solid. However, I had to keep that a secret so none of the storylines were leaked to any gossip blogs. Grandma, I promise you, I'm safe. By the way, I never asked you. Did Walker come by for support after everything that went on with your friend Addison? And there was the real reason for the call. No, he was busy that day, and apparently had been for the last week since he had barely contacted me unless you counted the "you still awake" text I ignored the other night. Yes, I'm sure Walker was consumed with his schoolwork. I don't know why you continue on with him. I took a deep breath. I hadn't slept well in a while, and I never handled confrontation well while drowsy, or when wide awake for that matter. Grandma, I don't feel like getting into this today, okay? Nice of him to be so supportive when you needed him. He's nothing but a dreamer. I winced. I should get going. My phone got a text and I was going to ignore it until a bunch of notifications started coming in rapid fire. Was my phone malfunctioning? I checked my friend Valeria's message. Valeria, call me right away, unless you're busy with your agent. That was strange. Then my agent's name flashed on my screen. What was going on? Grandma, let me call you later, okay? I switched over to my agent, Frank. Paige, news is coming out that Lance Cunningham got into a screaming match on set with a producer. I swallowed hard. Once in a while, things got a little heated on the set, but I had never heard anyone rage out before. Is everything going to be okay? What I'm hearing is, hold on, I'm getting a call. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears while I waited for Frank to come back. I'm sure things would be fine. The show would probably have Lance apologize, go to anger management classes, maybe therapy. After all, he was the main reason teenagers tuned in to watch the show. In fact, at least half of the commercials that ran during the program were geared toward teens since Lance was the main draw. Paige, I just got word that Lance has been suspended by the network. My throat went dry. What does this mean for me? Right now, anyone whose storyline is tied up with his is on hiatus indefinitely. My head began to swim. Charmed Lives was my big break. It was my chance to prove myself to my family and everyone else who ever doubted me as an actress. This couldn't be happening. Frank started talking about how my co-star and friend, Ivy McComb, was also being put on hiatus. I'm in talks with her agent on how we go about finding out if you can audition for other jobs right away. For now, I think there's going to be a retainer, so you won't be able to audition for a while until they make a firm decision on Lance. What we're hearing is that there are a bunch of lawyers on this, and all options for Lance are on the table, including termination. His temper has gotten out of control, apparently. I squeezed my eyes shut. So the role I had worked so hard to get was in danger, all because some guy couldn't keep his anger management in check. Frank told me to get some rest and not to post anything online or talk to anyone off the show about what was going on. They're worried about leaks to bloggers. Keep your socials quiet right now and turn off the comments. Anything you post, even a simple flower, will be scrutinized for hidden meaning. Okay, but I was only doing classes part-time this semester because of the new storyline coming up. The school will only let me do that for a limited time as a freshman. Ivy's agent mentioned that as well. The network is aware and said they can work something out for you to do an internship during this time to appease your school requirements. They're trying to find something for you. Journalism is your major, right? Yes, but only to get my family off my back. Uh-huh. That's what I thought. I'll see what we can work out. Hopefully this will get figured out and you'll be back to work in no time. My gut told me this wasn't about to blow over anytime soon. Frank, do you think this will get resolved? This isn't Lance's first time yelling at someone. He blew up at Valeria Joseph at the soap awards, and there were tons of witnesses. That whole incident went viral. Frank paused, and my anxiety spiked. Normally, he talked fast and moved on to the next call even faster. I waited as he cleared his throat. This could take some time to get resolved. That's why I'm trying to get the studio heads to secure an internship at the TV station for you. That way, it'd work towards your college credits and fulfill that requirement. All I know for sure is that it'll be in the news department and unpaid. I'll do my best. Take care. I sank back into my couch. This couldn't be happening. What else could go wrong? My phone beeped and I realized Grandma was calling me back. Everything okay, sweetie? I pulled my honey blonde hair into a messy bun with my free hand. Sorry about that. My agent calling with what to say. Some exciting possibilities for the future. Grandma cleared her throat. We're all so proud of you, but it was a good decision to change your major to journalism. That acting thing is too unreliable. Good for you, sweetie. Remember, money in the bank and job security are the only things that you can count on. My stomach clenched. What would she say if she knew my current job was hanging on by a thread? And then my mother would say I couldn't justify continuing on in a career field that didn't have any stability. Worst thing was they would be right. Plus, there was the sinking fear that I wasn't good enough as an actress to find another role. Grandma cut into my thoughts. You made the right choice. It wasn't worth getting into it with her. Grandma switched tracks to the tainted lettuce and the chicken scare, and I went to check my mini fridge to make sure there was no killer poultry or salad in there. All I'd eaten this week was pizza, but she just lectured me on wasting money on takeout when I could be getting my own nutritious meals in the dining hall. I refreshed my email one more time and my heart leapt into my throat as I saw the email I had been waiting on from an audition for a theater role. Dear Miss Kramer, thank you for your interest. However, at this time, I closed my eyes at the sting of rejection washed over me as Grandma continued to talk about canned vegetables and job security. But don't waste your money buying produce they just stamped the word organic on. That's how they get you, she said. There was a knock at my door, which gave me an excuse to get off the phone before I got a lecture. I figured it was Ivy, seeing as she lived in the dorm too. Gotta go, Grandma. I'll call you later. Fine, but one more thing. If you end up with Walker, you'll be the one down the road paying all the bills while he's out playing rock star and getting hit on by groupies who don't nag him to take out the garbage. She hung up with that sentiment ringing in my ears as I went and answered the door. Walker was standing there with a bouquet of purple African daisies, my favorites. Hey, somebody let me in downstairs. Anyway, what's up? What's up? How about where had he been for the past week? However, he started asking me how work was before I could get into it with him. Some stuff is going on with the show that I can't talk about, but I'll be starting an internship in the news department. I forced a smile as if this were an amazing thing instead of a consolation prize. That's great, but I thought you only made journalism your major to get your family off your back. He squinted at me. And I'm pretty sure you have to be at least a sophomore to get an internship, don't you? Well, I'm getting a recommendation, and now how much are you making? I shifted and avoided his eyes. I'm not actually getting any money, but it's a great opportunity and I'll be gaining experience. No cash, huh? I gritted my teeth, both annoyed with him and embarrassed by the fact that my big news was in name only. Well, no, but I'll be helping on stories, I assumed, but for all I knew, I'd be taking coffee orders. He sat on the arm of the couch and fixated his dark blue eyes on me. Yeah, but is it your life's dream to be a journalist? What about your acting? I've never heard you mention wanting to work in news, but you talk about acting all the time. As if I wasn't aware that this wasn't my end all be all job, but it wasn't like I had people lining up with TV and movie roles for me. I'm exploring my options. It's good to try new things. He raised his eyebrows. Well, life's short, but do what you want. My shoulders tensed. I'm aware life is short due to the fact that one of my best friends was in a car accident. Remember? He looked past me. Yeah, I wasn't sure, seeing as you didn't bother to go with me to. I told you that sort of thing bums me out. Life is for the living. He walked over and started to massage my shoulders, which were now up by my ears. Let's just forget about all that and go out. I don't feel like going out. I shrugged his hands off. All right, then let's order in. I'm not hungry. He nodded, but looked hurt. Okay, well, can I borrow some money to cover my cell phone bill? You know me, I'm good for it. I saw online that you went out last night, but today you can't pay your phone bill? He put his hands up. Sorry, I asked. Never mind. You are so irresponsible when it comes to money. Why did you waste your money buying me flowers when you could have used it? He ran his hands through his hair. I tried to do something nice for you. It's never enough, is it? I'm just sick of paying for everything when we go out. Didn't realize you were so materialistic. Being tired and having my career in jeopardy also meant I had no filter, and every little grudge I had held onto floated to the surface. Normally, I could hold my tongue, but today it put me through the ringer. I'm not. I'm realistic, and I don't have my dad bail me out when he stood up. Hey, I'm close to getting somewhere with my music. I'm talking with people. I'm getting a lot of interest. That's great, but it's always about your music. Where were you when I needed you? Oh, you needed time to write, and depressing stuff curbs my creative energy, okay? I stared at him. Addison once said all Walker had to do was fix his dark blue eyes on you and give you that little smirk, and people would forgive him for anything. However, she also said that it drove her nuts. I was starting to see her point. Seriously, I'm having a nervous breakdown, but don't worry. I'll do it quietly in the next room, lest your creative vibe be tarnished. Walker sighed and shook his head. I had a bad experience when I was in the ninth grade, and Addie was one of my best friends. If you had said, it's a lot and I'm not sure I could handle it, I would have at least respected that. She was always rude to me. It was like a bomb went off in my head. I heard myself saying the words, just go. I didn't know if it was from the stress. I didn't know if it was the stress of my job, his comments about Addie, or my grandma chiming in on the relationship, but I couldn't take another excuse. He touched my arm. Can we talk about this? Let me explain why I couldn't. I think we need to take a break because I can't deal with this. I looked up at him with his deep blue eyes, dark blonde hair, and high cheekbones. He was so gorgeous it was almost distracting. I always thought we'd be together forever, but I kept hearing Grandma's voice. She was right. Someone had to be the mature one in this relationship, and it shouldn't just be me. It's over, I said. He walked out without saying a word. I did it. I broke up with the guy I shared my hopes and dreams with. And one afternoon, it all ended. My relationship, my career, and my laid back view on life. I didn't cry or scream, but my body was overheating, my heart was racing, and my mouth was dry. I felt like I could drink 3 gallons of ice cold water and then run around the campus. Grabbing a washcloth, I went over to the sink and turned on the tap. I wiped my face with cold water and tried to control my breathing. I had sweated through my shirt. I put on my pajamas and opened the window to get some air into my tiny dorm room. With everything going on, I had forgotten the fact the dining hall closed at 8 p.m. I was ravenous, but all I had in my mini fridge was a container of sour cream and a key lime yogurt. I was filled with rage and sadness, and this was not a good job. This was not a job for yogurt. I had no other food in my room, and I didn't want to knock on my sweet mate's door to see if she had anything because she'd take one look at me and ask what was wrong. The last thing I wanted to do was talk about anything. My only options to get something for dinner were to either go off campus, which wasn't going to happen at 10 at night, or get by with vending machine snacks. My hair was up in a messy bun, and I had my jammies on, but I almost never ran into anyone on the main floor common area. Besides, at this point, what I looked like wasn't my primary concern. I walked down the vending machine and found a large out of order sign taped to the front of it. Groaning, I tried to figure out what my options were. I could text my friend Olivia and see if she had any snacks that I could have to get me through the night, but I hadn't contacted her to find out how she was doing in a while. Sure, my not reaching out was because I didn't know what to say, but I wouldn't blame her if she slammed the door in my face. Then it hit me. Ivy's boyfriend lived nearby in Fairman Hall, and he always complained about the side door not locking properly so anyone could get in. That door was right by the communal area, so I could slip in, get some food from their vending machine, and get out. I thought about going upstairs to change first, but it was getting late and I was starving. I walked across the quad to the dorm, and sure enough, the door was unlocked. I peeked around the corner, and not a soul in sight. At least one thing was working out for me today. I went to the machine, put my money in, and selected the only option that could pass as filling, the bean tortilla chips. Victory was almost mine until the chips got caught on the way down. I tried hitting the glass to see if I could dislodge them, but the machine wouldn't budge. Or the machine didn't budge. This was not happening. I had $2 left, so I figured I could get a candy bar and hopefully knock the chips down. A chocolate bar was right above the chips. Perfect. I put my money in and watched as the candy bar fell on top of the chips and stayed there. This couldn't be happening. I didn't have any more cash on me. I checked my ID holder and then remembered my credit card was in my room next to my laptop where I used it to order makeup I could no longer afford. My blood sugar was dipping and my emotions spiking, and I began to cry. I couldn't even hold back the tears. Is everything okay? My spine straightened and I whirled around. There stood a tall, dark-haired hot guy in a Hepburn U practice sweat staring at me. Oh, crap. His hazel eyes widened as he took in the weeping mess in Hello Kitty sleeping pants that stood before him. To make matters worse, the elastic was shot at the waistband of the pants, so I had rolled the top to keep them from falling down like clown pants. This was not my finest hour. Can I help? His forehead creased with concern as he tilted his head toward me. He was so sweet and seemed so concerned that it brought up a wave of emotions. I opened my mouth to speak, and my voice came out as shaky as my career prospects. My candy bar and chips are stuck. He went over to the machine and attempted to rock it, but nothing happened. He put some money in, and next thing I knew, my food had been dislodged and he was handing me my snacks. My nose was on the brink of running, so I grabbed the food and rushed out, yelling, "Thanks," over my shoulder. I was mortified. I had just started to melt down in front of a stranger. I knew I should have checked and made sure he got his snack as well, but there was no way I could risk him seeing my runny nose on top of everything else. My only hope was that I looked so bad he wouldn't recognize me if we ever ran into each other again. But what were the chances I'd see him again? After all, he was wearing a warm-up suit that university jocks wore, and the only athlete on the campus I even knew was Valeria's boyfriend. I could breathe easy knowing I'd probably never see this guy again. I made it back to my room where I tore into my food. This had to be the worst day of my life. In less than 24 hours, I had lost my career, my boyfriend, and possibly my dignity.